Not convinced it might not be something wrong with this drive. I don't know if this is a Bendix drive, but I noticed when I pulled it out of the housing this time that it was out like this. And so I can rotate it back and it goes back in, but I thought that basically when the starter spins it's supposed to throw this out, and that when the starter stops that there's supposed to be a spring that makes this return to this position. I think that's how it's supposed to work. Well, if that's how it's supposed to work, something wrong, because there's no spring action there. Alright, I'm going to try and turn that motor. Ow! Alright, attempted to turn the starter over with the bar, was only able to turn it so far and then met a lot of resistance. So I decided I better check for stuck valves. And I'm glad I did, because I pulled the cover off and what I found this valve was stuck. I put some Marvel Mystery Oil on it, worked it down and up a couple times with a punch, putting a punch in this little recess in the top here and just tapping it lightly, and that one freed right up. However, this valve here and this valve here, which are both the two exhaust valves on the number 1 and number 2 cylinder, they were stuck pretty bad. I was able to tap those down. Those are now down. I got Marvel Mystery Oil soaking on those. This one, you can see I tapped it down, it's not coming back up, so it's really stuck. So there's my culprit. That's why I couldn't turn the engine over. Stuck valves, not stuck cylinders. Cylinders may have been stuck too, but that's now free, I believe, and now I believe I'm just dealing with stuck valves. Well, now that I've got these two, if I haven't bent up the push rods too badly, now that I've got these two pushed down, they should actually allow these push rods to come up, and so I should be able to rotate that crankshaft. Still doesn't want to turn. My fear now is that this is an interference type engine where when the valves are down, if the pistons come up when they're not supposed to be down, that they hit the valves. If that's the case, I may have bent the valve, which would mean that's why it can't come back up, and then when the piston comes up, now it's up against the bent valve. So that might be what's going on here. Not entirely sure. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these bolts out right here, and that should allow me to take this whole rack assembly with the rockers right off, and I can take the push rods out and see if I bent any of the push rods, and that'll let me that'll give me free access at the top of these valve stems to see if I can get them to pop back up. Well, working from this angle, I didn't notice that there's a bracket like tube here with a tube that runs down from the bottom of it to the top of the head there. This must, maybe that supplies oil to this rack assembly when it's running, but I'm not sure how that comes out, if that's even made to come out, if that's supposed to stay behind with the head. But that's what seems to be holding me up from getting this out. I've got all these bolts loosened and can wiggle the rack, but doesn't want to come up and out. There's a little tube right there. What does that do? Just squirt oil up on top here? Huh. I tried pushing this spring down further, hoping the spring tension would increase and it would pop back up and work free. And all I did was end up actually starting to crush the valve spring. So that was a mistake on my part. So, and this one's still stuck down, it hasn't moved up any. So, time to pull the head. Okay, I undid this clamp right here, holds the exhaust pipe up to the manifold. I started to undo this nut here for the carburetor, but then realized you can't get it all the way off because the carburetor body gets in the way. You have to kind of like loosen the other one up and drop it down a little at a time. Started to take the screws out for the governor. I was just thinking, gee, it's going to be tough getting those out, and then I realized one in the back's already missing, and this one here was actually pretty loose, so it wasn't too bad to get that one out. So I finished taking that out. I'm going to check and see how bad the manifold nuts are on those studs. If they're really stuck on there, I might just try and pull the head with the manifold still attached. If they're not, then I might pull the carburetor still attached to the manifold. I don't know. There's all kinds of options here. Remove the air cleaner assembly. That J-shaped piece of hose gives you more access here. Let you undo the choke cable back here and the fuel line, and now I should be able to get a wrench back here and get this other nut loose and drop the carburetor off. Alright, took some doing, but I got the carburetor off. Looks like it's going to be real fun getting this governor shaft back put together with this thing correctly. It's got that little nub that's going to go in that little keyway in there. This ought to be fun. The carburetor actually looks pretty clean inside. Damn good. And that gasket doesn't look very old either. Looks like maybe somebody did some carb work on this not too long ago. Well, alright, I took a bolt out on this side and on the other side. That should separate this, what looks to be maybe a thermostat housing, from the front of the head. Manifold nuts are really seized onto the studs, so I'm going to try and pull the head with the manifold still attached. I took a run back out here tonight to pull the head. Brought my electric impact wrench, 3/4 inch socket and extension. I was able to get all of the nuts off except for this one here. I'm going to have to put some penetrating oil on that and let it soak because it's really stuck on there. So close yet so far. Anyways, was able to twist this rack back and forth just enough to be able to get the socket onto some of these nuts that are stuck behind there. The other key was I removed all the push rods. That was also allowing me to move this around a lot more than I had before. My two out of the 3 exhaust valves that were originally stuck are still stuck down. This one did pop back up, so this one's freed up. But it doesn't matter because I'm going to pull it anyways. I just saw some more coolant come out, so it looks like the seal for the cylinder head gasket's already let loose. Take a look on the other side. Yeah, got coolant coming out on this side, so. Alright, so what do we got left here? Looks like all I need to do now is I got a fitting over here. It's going to need to be undone. And this looks like it might be the temperature sensor. Probably going to a gauge up at the top there. Got to unscrew that. Almost ready. Getting to that fitting on the other side, where this tube goes to the top of this governor, is a bare. So I'm going to take this thermostat housing completely out. So I undid this nut that was in here, and that should allow me to tilt the radiator forward just enough to unhook this hose. And then if I unhook this hose clamp down here, I should be able to pull that whole housing out. Okay, came out this morning with the right size wrench to get that fitting off on the front there. Also had to disconnect this end of the pipe, goes into this cover that goes on top of this governor linkage here. Had to disconnect that too because I didn't want to break that pipe where it goes in there. And pulled the head. And let's get this gasket out of the way. I shop vacuumed all the debris out of here before I pulled it, so I could make sure that I didn't have stuff falling down into any of the oil galleys or anything. And lo and behold, all that diesel fuel I had filled the cylinders up with, and this cylinder, these first 3 cylinders, it's all gone. So that's all leaked down past the rings into the motor, into the crankcase. This is the only one that still has diesel sitting in it. This is also the only one that on the spark plug, when I took the spark plug out, it had signs of corrosion. So that's interesting. We'll take a look at the head. Upon closer inspection of this one particular cylinder here, there's actually a big chunk of rust scale right here on the cylinder wall in 2 spots. Here's the head. That's one of the exhaust valves that's stuck really bad. It's just got a ton of debris in there. This is the other valve that's stuck bad. Also debris. Really a lot of gunk on there. This one was also stuck, but it actually went back in. This is the one that's on that cylinder that had the most rust showing on it. If you actually look real carefully, you can see how this is all black and carbon, except for this one back little area right here that has all of this rust on it. Actually, wait a minute, hold the phone. This is the generator bracket right here. This is cylinder number 1. This is the first cylinder. Alright, so water must have been running in somehow through the exhaust. And even though this is not a vertical stack exhaust, maybe it was water and something that was sitting on the top of the manifold and maybe somehow leaking through the gaskets here. I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Anyways, that's water was coming in through there and rust in that. That one doesn't have as much indication of it as that one does. So actually, it looks like number 1 was the one that was getting a lot of water in it. And this one is the one that's got the chunks of stuff on the inside of the cylinder right now. And there's even chunks of it in here too. Alright, I was able to rotate it a little bit with the bar in there on the flywheel, which is good news. And so now I rehooked the starter up and I'm going to see if we can't spin the engine. Oop. Why does that not seem like it's spinning at all now? What's going on with the starter? That's weird. Let's see. Should be grounded correctly. I wonder if my battery's low again. Alright, let me hook up my jumper cable. Alright, I had a bad connection on the solenoid here. I now got the jumper cable right on the stud there. I'm going to have to replace that solenoid. That stripped post is giving me trouble. Now, with that giving me good juice, I already spun it a second. Just to show you. So, the cylinder over here, I can feel the pitting on that cylinder wall there from where that rust was. And this one actually looks good. These other cylinders look pretty good. It's just going to be that rear one. There's the starter solenoid. It actually says Cole Hersee, H-E-R-S-E-E, Cole spelled C-O-L-E, of Boston, Mass, USA. Yeah, right here near home. I wonder if that company's still around. I can't imagine it is. And boy, I mean, I wonder how old that solenoid is. I also wonder whether or not it's a 12-volt solenoid. I wonder if they bothered changing it over when they converted. I would imagine if it was a 6-volt solenoid, it would have fried a long time ago, but I don't know. Alright, so I'm going to see if I can find a replacement for that. One more bit of good news that has me a little confused. After I got the head off, I was looking at these spark plug holes, and if you recall, when I pulled out this spark plug, it's got this weird deal welded to it, and I wondered whether or not they had altered the hole, because originally I had trouble screwing in the regular spark plug, but I think it was just some stuff in the threads, because now I can thread in the standard spark plug into all 4 of these holes. So they didn't alter these spark plug holes. So I will be able to put in 4 regular good old spark plugs when I'm done.